Nicole Kidman's marriage ended on set, with divorce papers faxed to her during 12-hour rehearsals. 72 hours later, she was in a hospital losing a pregnancy almost no one knew about. But why was she kept in the dark until the last possible moment? And what was going on privately that the public never heard about? In this video, I'm breaking down the 12 little-known stories of Nicole Kidman's life, including the truth behind the divorce week that nearly ended everything. Fact 1. The night Tom Cruise ended everything by fax. Nicole Kidman was in the middle of the most demanding performance of her life when her marriage ended. She didn't get a phone call. She didn't get a conversation. What she got changed everything. February 2001, Nicole was on the Moulin Rouge set in Sydney, shooting the physically brutal sequences that left her bruised and exhausted every night. She'd been married to Tom Cruise for 11 years, adopted 2 children with him, built a life that seemed unshakable. Then, on February 5th, Tom's attorney sent divorce papers, not to Nicole directly, but through his lawyer. She found out her marriage was over the way you'd find out about a canceled business contract. The shock went beyond heartbreak. Nicole had no warning, no chance to fight for her family. She was in another country, physically destroyed from 12-hour dance rehearsals, and suddenly she was being publicly divorced by the biggest movie star in the world. The tabloids swarmed. Scientology insiders began whispering that she was a suppressive person. 3 days after the papers arrived, Nicole collapsed on set. The cramping was immediate and terrifying. She was rushed to a hospital in Sydney where doctors confirmed what her body already knew. She'd miscarried. The stress had triggered a miscarriage of a pregnancy she desperately wanted. Now she'd lost her husband, her family structure, and an unborn child in 72 hours. The Moulin Rouge producers gave her 3 days off. Then she was back on set, dancing and singing while her life disintegrated. But here's what Tom Cruise's lawyer didn't count on. That same year, Nicole threw herself into the hours, playing Virginia Woolf's descent into suicide. She channeled every ounce of her devastation into the performance. March 2002, exactly 1 year after the divorce was finalized, she stood on the Academy Awards stage holding the Oscar for Best Actress. The role that was supposed to end her career became the one that proved she was never just Tom Cruise's wife. She thanked everyone except him. Years later, she discovered her phone had been tapped during the marriage. Fact 2. The car crash that should have killed her. September 2015. London. A car was speeding toward Nicole Kidman, and she had no idea until it was too late. Nicole was cycling through Chelsea on her way back from a meeting, wearing a helmet, following every traffic rule. She was turning a corner near Stamford Bridge when witnesses heard the screech of tires. A car had blown through the intersection at full speed. The impact launched her off the bike. She flew through the air and slammed into the pavement hard enough that pedestrians started screaming. The car didn't slow down properly. Someone yelled for an ambulance. Nicole wasn't moving. Witnesses later told police they were certain she was dead. The bike was mangled. Her helmet had cracked from the impact. But when paramedics arrived, she was conscious. Somehow, impossibly, Nicole had escaped with severe bruising and shock. No broken bones, no head trauma beyond the concussion. Doctors couldn't explain it. The helmet had saved her skull, but the force should have shattered ribs, fractured her spine, caused internal bleeding. Instead, she walked out of the hospital that same day. She didn't talk about it publicly for weeks. When she finally did, she admitted it had forced her to confront something she'd been avoiding. Her mortality wasn't abstract anymore. She had 2 young daughters, Sunday and Faith, who were 7 and 4 years old. They could have lost their mother on a random Tuesday because someone was driving too fast. The crash changed how she chose roles. She started taking projects that mattered, that said something because she'd been given a second chance and she wasn't going to waste it on safe choices. Fact 3. The role that made Hollywood think she was finished. Nicole Kidman's career was in free fall, and she was about to make it worse. On purpose. 2002. The divorce from Tom Cruise had turned Nicole into tabloid poison. She was 34, newly single, and Hollywood executives saw damaged goods. The offers coming in were all the same: romantic comedies, action girlfriend roles, parts that required her to look beautiful and stay quiet. Then Stephen Daldry sent her the script for The Hours. The role was Virginia Woolf, the brilliant writer who walked into a river with stones in her pockets. And the character required a prosthetic nose that would hide Nicole's famous face. Her agent said no. Her publicist said no. Studio executives said she was committing career suicide. Beautiful actresses didn't make themselves ugly, especially not right after a humiliating divorce. The industry had a short memory and zero patience. Nicole had Moulin Rouge coming out, but that was filmed before the divorce. This would be her first choice as a single woman, and everyone was telling her to play it safe. But Nicole had spent 11 years being Tom Cruise's wife. She was done being safe. She took the role. Every day, she spent hours in the makeup chair getting the prosthetic nose applied. She gained weight. She hunched her posture. She made herself unrecognizable. Dailies came back and producers panicked. Test audiences didn't even realize it was Nicole Kidman. The press started writing obituaries for her career. Then the reviews hit. Critics called it the performance of the year. December 2002, the Golden Globe nominations came out. Nicole was nominated. March 2003, she won the Academy Award for Best Actress. The prosthetic nose that was supposed to end her career became the thing that proved she was a real actor, not just a pretty face. Fact 4. The curse of the boyfriend who became her brother. Nicole fell in love in 1989, and then a medical file turned that love into something unspeakable. Marcus Graham was an Australian actor working on the miniseries Vietnam with Nicole. They were both young, ambitious, and the chemistry was immediate. On set in Melbourne, they started dating. Within months, it was serious. Marriage serious. Nicole's family liked him, his family liked her. They were planning a future together, talking about rings and houses. Then someone mentioned that Nicole's father was a fertility doctor. Anthony Kidman ran a well-known practice in Sydney, helping couples conceive through donor insemination. The technology was new in the 70s and 80s, and records weren't always carefully kept. Marcus's mother had used a fertility clinic in Sydney. The timeline matched. Someone did the math. And suddenly there was a horrifying question neither of them wanted to ask. Could they be half-siblings? The possibility alone was enough to poison everything. There was no easy way to find out. DNA testing in 1990 wasn't as simple as it is now, and Nicole's father couldn't access donor records due to confidentiality laws. But the doubt was there, growing like a sickness. Were they related? Had they been intimate with each other without knowing they shared a father? The relationship couldn't survive the question. They broke up, both of them devastated. Years later, investigators looked into it. The evidence suggested it was almost certainly false. The clinic records, when finally examined, showed no connection. But by then, it was too late. Nicole had moved to Hollywood, married Tom Cruise, and built a completely different life. They destroyed something real over a rumor that probably wasn't even true. Fact 5 of the Scientology escape that cost her everything. When Nicole divorced Tom Cruise, she thought she was losing a husband. She had no idea she was about to lose her children. Connor and Isabella were 8 and 9 years old when the divorce was finalized in 2001. Nicole had adopted them with Tom, raised them, loved them as completely as any biological mother could. Then the Church of Scientology made a decision. Nicole was declared a suppressive person, which in Scientology means someone who threatens the church's control. Once you're labeled suppressive, members are required to disconnect from you completely. Connor and Bella were being raised in Scientology by Tom. The pressure on them was immense. Stay close to your mother and betray your religion, or disconnect and prove your faith. They chose the church. Nicole's phone calls went unanswered. Visits were canceled. Birthdays passed without acknowledgement. Her own children wouldn't speak to her, and Nicole couldn't fight back. Any public criticism of Scientology would push Connor and Bella further away. Any legal battle would turn into a tabloid war that would hurt them more. So Nicole did the hardest thing a mother can do. She stayed silent. She took the public blame. Tabloids called her a neglectful mother who abandoned her kids for her career. She couldn't defend herself without making it worse. Nicole remarried Keith Urban in 2006 and had 2 biological daughters, Sunday and Faith. She built a second family while grieving the first. In interviews, she'd say carefully neutral things about Connor and Bella, always leaving the door open. By 2018, there were signs of reconciliation. Connor attended Nicole's father's funeral. Their relationship wasn't healed, but it wasn't completely severed either. Fact 6. The audition where she wouldn't take no. Baz Luhrmann kept rejecting Nicole Kidman, and she kept coming back. Eventually, one of them was going to break. 2006. Baz was casting Australia, his epic romance set in the outback during World War II. He needed someone rugged, sun-damaged, someone who looked like they'd spent years in the brutal Australian heat. Nicole Kidman was pale, refined, fresh off playing sophisticated characters. Baz said no. She didn't fit the vision. Nicole asked to audition anyway. He let her, to be polite. She showed up, prepared, gave a solid reading. He said no again. Nicole was furious. Baz had directed her in Moulin Rouge, and it became iconic. How could he not see her in this? She went home and spent a week in the sun, deliberately burning her porcelain skin. She showed up to his office unannounced, windswept, wearing dusty boots and a cattleman's jacket. She demanded another audition. This time she got the role, but she'd soon wish she hadn't. Australia shot for months in the remote Northern Territory. The production was troubled from the start. The budget ballooned. The script kept changing. Nicole gave everything to the role, doing her own stunts, working 16-hour days in 100-degree heat. When the film finally premiered in November 2008, reviews were mixed. Audiences didn't show up. It made back its budget, but barely. And critically, it was seen as a beautiful mess. Nicole had fought so hard for a role in a movie that became Baz's first major disappointment. Fact 7, the director who made her choose marriage or career. Stanley Kubrick called Nicole at home. Again, it was 3 a.m. and Tom Cruise was getting suspicious. Eyes Wide Shut started filming in November 1996. Kubrick told the studio it would take 4 months. It took 406 days, becoming the longest continuous film shoot in history. Nicole and Tom were playing a married couple whose relationship unravels after secrets surface. Kubrick wasn't just directing Nicole, he was dissecting her. He'd call her at home in London at 2, 3 a.m. to discuss her character's motivation. He'd shoot a scene 60, 70 times until she couldn't tell truth from performance anymore. Tom started noticing the calls, started asking why Kubrick needed to talk to her so late, so often. The line between the film's disintegrating marriage and their real one started blurring. Kubrick knew exactly what he was doing. He'd tell Nicole to pull from her actual relationship, to use real tensions. The production consumed their marriage. They couldn't escape the set because Kubrick kept them there, couldn't escape each other because they were in every scene together. Then, March 7, 1999, Kubrick died in his sleep. He'd finished editing 6 days earlier, showed the film to Tom and Nicole, and the studio declared it done, and died of a heart attack at 70. He never knew his final masterpiece would help destroy the marriage he'd spent over a year filming. Eyes Wide Shut premiered in July 1999. By February 2001, Tom and Nicole were divorced. The film had forced them to perform the end of their relationship before they knew it was ending. Fact 8, the frozen eggs that saved her dreams. Nicole was 38 years old, single, and her body was running out of time. She made a choice most people thought was desperate. After the divorce from Tom, Nicole had 2 adopted children she couldn't see and a biological clock that was screaming. She'd suffered an ectopic pregnancy during her marriage, then the miscarriage in 2001. Doctors told her natural conception was going to be difficult, maybe impossible. She was heading into her late 30s, and in Hollywood that meant she was aging out of romantic leads and motherhood simultaneously. So in 2005, she made an appointment at a fertility clinic in Los Angeles and asked about egg freezing. The procedure wasn't common then. It was experimental, expensive, and the success rates were unknown. Her eggs would be harvested, frozen in liquid nitrogen, and stored indefinitely. Maybe they'd be viable. Maybe they wouldn't. Maybe she'd never need them. Maybe she'd never meet anyone who'd want to build a family with her. Then she met Keith Urban at an event in January 2005. They married in June 2006. Nicole was 39. In 2008, just before turning 41, she gave birth to Sunday Rose. The pregnancy was successful, natural, everything she'd been told wouldn't happen. But for their second child, her body couldn't do it again. In 2010, at 43, Nicole used a gestational surrogate and her frozen eggs to have Faith Margaret. Those eggs she'd frozen in desperation 5 years earlier became her second daughter. Fact 9. The country singer who was nearly too broken. Nicole married Keith Urban in June 2006. By October, she was sending him to rehab. Their marriage was 4 months old. Keith was a country music star with a serious cocaine addiction. Nicole knew about his history when they met. He'd been to rehab before in 1998. He swore he was clean. They fell in love fast, married faster, and for a few months it seemed like the fairy tale was real. Then Nicole started noticing things. Keith would disappear for hours. He'd come back agitated, paranoid, his pupils wrong. He'd promise he wasn't using, and then she'd find evidence that he was lying. The divorce from Tom had nearly destroyed her, and now she was watching her second marriage disintegrate before it even started. Keith's addiction was getting worse, not better. The stability of marriage wasn't fixing him. It was enabling him. Nicole had a choice: leave him and prove to the world she couldn't make a relationship work, or fight for him and risk losing herself in the process. October 2006, Nicole staged an intervention. She told Keith he was going to rehab or the marriage was over. No second chances. No negotiations. She'd already compromised herself once in her marriage to Tom, and she wasn't doing it again. Keith fought back, denied the severity, promised he could quit on his own. Nicole didn't budge. She'd already called the facility, Betty Ford Center in California. Keith went. He stayed for 90 days. When he came out, he was different. Actually different, not performing sobriety. The ultimatum had worked because Nicole had meant it. Keith later said that her willingness to walk away saved his life. Their marriage survived because she refused to enable his destruction. By 2008, they had Sunday Rose. By 2010, Faith Margaret. The family Keith almost lost to cocaine became the thing that kept him sober. Fact 10, the Botox confession that changed beauty standards. Critics were calling Nicole's face frozen. They didn't know how right they were. By 2011, Nicole was 43 and terrified of aging out of Hollywood. She'd been getting Botox injections for years, started in her 30s when the industry made it clear that wrinkles meant unemployment. The treatments worked. Her forehead stayed smooth, her skin stayed tight. But something was wrong. Directors started complaining that she couldn't express emotion. Her face wouldn't move during takes. Critics reviewing her films noticed the same thing. She looked beautiful, but dead behind the eyes. The Rabbit Film Festival in 2011. Nicole was promoting Rabbit Hole, playing a mother destroyed by grief after her son's death. A journalist asked about the Botox rumors. Nicole could have denied it. Every other actress did. Instead, she told the truth. Yes, she'd used Botox. so much that she couldn't move her face properly. It had hurt her acting. She'd stopped. The confession created an immediate problem. Admitting to Botox meant admitting to insecurity, to vanity, to being afraid of aging. Hollywood punishes women who show fear. But continuing Botox meant she couldn't act, and acting was the only thing that mattered. Nicole was facing a choice every actress over 40 faces: stay artificially young and lose your credibility, or age naturally and lose your career. There's no safe option. Nicole chose her craft. She stopped all Botox treatments. Her face started moving again. Wrinkles appeared. Tabloids documented every line. But something else happened. Directors started calling her for complex roles again. She could play grief, rage, vulnerability, all the emotions that require a face that moves. 2017, she did Big Little Lies and won an Emmy. 2018, Destroyer, where she played a damaged detective with no vanity. 2019, Bombshell, playing a woman aging out of television news. The roles got better because she let herself age. Fact 11, the TV gamble that could have ended Prestige. Nicole Kidman was about to do something a list movie star had done before. Everyone told her it was career suicide. 2015, Nicole had been a film actress for 25 years. She'd won an Oscar, worked with Kubrick, been on countless magazine covers. But she was 58, and the film roles were drying up. Hollywood doesn't make movies for women over 50. They make franchises for men and romantic comedies for women under 35. Nicole was in the dead zone. Then Reese Witherspoon called with a proposal. HBO wanted to make Big Little Lies, a limited series about domestic violence and female friendship. Reese wanted Nicole as co-star and producer. Television was where movie stars went to die. That was the rule in 2015. Film was prestige. TV was lesser. Nicole's agents warned her that once she went to television, film directors wouldn't take her seriously anymore. She'd be admitting she couldn't carry a movie. But the alternative was worse, taking smaller and smaller film roles until she disappeared completely. Nicole said yes. Hollywood waited for her to fail. Big Little Lies premiered February 2017. Critics called it the best thing Nicole had done since The Hours. The role let her play complex, dark, messy in ways film hadn't let her do in years. September 2017, she won the Emmy for Best Actress. But the real victory was bigger. After Nicole and Reese proved movie stars could do prestigious television, everyone followed. Meryl Streep went to TV. Julia Roberts went to TV. Matthew McConaughey, Al Pacino, Robert De Niro. Nicole hadn't just saved her career, she changed the entire industry's perception of what television could be. Fact 12, the father's death she couldn't attend. Nicole's phone rang at 4 in the morning Singapore time. Her sister was calling. Their father was dead. September 12th, 2014. Anthony Kidman, Nicole's father, was visiting her sister Antonia in Singapore. He was 75, a clinical psychologist who'd spent his career studying human behavior and helping people through trauma. He'd been Nicole's anchor through everything: the divorce, the Scientology nightmare, the career pivots, the remarriage, the new children. That Friday, he went for a morning visit to Antonia's apartment. He seemed fine, healthy. They had breakfast. He stood up from the table and collapsed. Heart attack. He was dead before the ambulance arrived. Nicole was in Los Angeles, 12 hours away by plane. She was in pre-production for a film, locked into meetings she couldn't break. By the time she got the call, her father's body was already at the morgue. There was no goodbye, no hospital bedside moment, no last words. She couldn't get to Singapore fast enough to see him one more time. But the grief did something unexpected. Nicole threw herself into work, but different. She started choosing roles about loss, about parents and children, about relationships fractured by time and distance. In 2016, she did Lion, playing an adoptive mother whose son searches for his biological family. The grief was raw on screen. In 2018, she did Boy Erased, playing a mother trying to save her son from conversion therapy. Critics said these were the most emotionally vulnerable performances of her career. Her father's death had broken something open in her, and she was letting cameras film it. The psychology her father studied his whole life was now being channeled through her acting. Connor, Nicole's estranged son, attended Anthony's funeral in Sydney. It was the first time he'd been publicly with her in years. Grief brought them together, briefly. Nicole Kidman rebuilt herself 3 times over. Divorced by fax, she won an Oscar. Cut off from her children, she built a new family. Told she was too old, she revolutionized television. Every time Hollywood counted her out, she proved them wrong. Not by playing it safe, but by risking everything when it mattered most. If you like this video, you may also like other videos in our channel about beautiful ladies of yesteryear.